Hello, my stars, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Basil, and today I will be reading 10 Floors by Sentient Stove on AO3. Here's the summary. There's a kid on the roof. Shouta jumps the last bit to it and lands silently, approaching the green figure there, mentally trying to gauge if they're at risk. They're leaning casually on the railing, and an All My backpack is on the ground next to them as they watch the world below. Hey kid, you good? There's a squeak of surprise from the kid, and they turn, face brushing through 1,000 different emotions before settling on surprise. Hello! They flush red and bow awkwardly. Sorry if I disturbed you. Nah, you're fine. I was just concerned to see a. Shouta sees the grade school jacket neatly folded, a pair of bright red shoes stacked on top next to the bed. Kid up here alone without his shoes on. The kid goes pale, and then he's bowing lower than the first time, stuttering out more apologies. Oh god, I swear it doesn't look like that. I was just taking them off because a few kids from my class dumped my bag in the fountain outside our school, and I forgot to take them out when I was going in, and this roof is sunny, so I was using it to dry everything. I'm so sorry if you thought I was going to jump. There's a kid on the roof. Shouta jumps the last bit to it and lands silently, approaching the green figure there, mentally trying to gauge if they're at risk. They're leaning casually on the railing, and an All My backpack is on the ground next to them as they watch the world below. Hey kid, you good? There's a squeak of surprise from the kid and they turn, face brushing through 1,000 different emotions before settling on surprise. Hello! They flush red and bow awkwardly. Sorry if I disturbed you. Nah, you're fine. I was just concerned to see a. Shouta sees the grade school jacket neatly folded, a pair of bright red shoes stacked on top next to the bag. Kid up here alone without his shoes on. The kid goes pale, and then he's bowing lower than the first time, stuttering out more apologies. Oh god, I swear it doesn't look like that. I was just taking them off because a few kids in my class dumped my bag in the fountain outside my school, and I forgot to take them off when I was going in, and this roof is so sunny, so I was using it to dry everything. I'm so sorry if you thought I was going to jump. Kid, you're fine. Shouta reaches out, and the kid flinches. He pulls back and takes a few steps away, and they relax. However, subconsciously it may be. Can I get your name? Mom says I shouldn't tell my name to strangers. Emma raises her head. Shouta says blankly, and the kid's eyes light up before he's diving into his bag and pulling out a slightly damp notebook and a pen. You're the erasure hero! Oh, this is so cool! You're usually not active during the day. I didn't recognize it because there's really only grainy CCTV footage of you. But sometimes my mom tells me about you since you check out of the hospital way too early for a normal discharge. He's writing as he word vomits, and a moment later, the notebook is thrust at him as the kid bounces over. Can you please sign this Eraserhead-san? Shouta looks at the notebook. The kanji inside is too wet to read, and the drawing of him is a bit crude, but it mostly focuses on his capture weapon, which is very well shaded. Nimuri would be proud of it. He grabs the pen and scribbles his hero name in sloppy English before handing the pen back. Never met a fan before. The kid squeaks and snaps the notebook shut, heading back to his bag and putting it away. He slips on his shoes and still wet jacket before attempting to bounce past Shouta. Kid, I still need a name. Izuku! Izuku flashes him a cheeky grin before making it to the door. I'll never forget this Eraserhead-san. Thank you! Shouta doesn't even get a chance to respond before the door leading off the roof is slammed shut behind Izuku, leaving him alone. He sees Izuku on the same roof a few weeks later. It's early evening, and he's just starting patrol when he recognizes the grade school uniform of the kid, and so Shouta makes a detour and lands on the roof with a solid thump, Izuku turning almost immediately. Oh, hi! Izuku's eyes are bloodshot, and he sniffs as Shouta makes his way over and sits on the ground next to the kid. What's wrong? Nothing now. Izuku gives him a watery smile and Shouta huffs. Kid. Just school again. It's dumb. Izuku doesn't have his bag with him this time, and he hides his hands from Shota's sight, which puts him on the defensive. I don't think it's dumb, Izuku. Izuku bursts into tears and sobs into his hands. And Shouta can see that the skin is shiny and a raw red that is usually determined by burns. Chemical burns, to be exact. A wave of anger flares through him, but Shouta schools his face into a calm neutral, instead opting to put a hand on Izuku's shoulder and squeeze gently as comfort. I just don't get why they hate me. Well, I do, but I'm not contagious. It was just bad genes. They're not going to catch my sickness. Izuku winces as his hands brush his uniform, and Shouta holds out one of his hands. Let me see those burns, kid. Izuku complies, and Shouta uses the burn cream and wraps he has in his belt to soothe the skin and wrap the wounds. The roof is quiet as he works, and when he's done, Shouta gives the rest of the cream to the boy. Once every 6 hours. Unwrap it and rub that on. Then change the bandages. And tell your mom too. You said she was a nurse. She'll help you. Chemical burns are no joke. Thank you, Eraserhead-san. Izuku tucks the supplies out of sight, and they both sit in silence for a moment before the boy is speaking up. The hospital is doing a support group for kids like me. Really? Shouta blinks. He's not quite sure what Izuku has, but it's enough to get him bullied by his peers. And the kid has mentioned genetics before, so maybe it was an autoimmune disease or something like that. I don't know if I should go again. There's only 2 other people that go, and they're both older than me. Natsuo and Emiko. Izuku looks at Shouta and shrugs. What do you think I should do? Shouta thinks it over for a moment. I think you should keep going. It'll be nice if you have peers closer to your age that are just like you. Izuku nods, seemingly thinking it over before he offers Shouta a shy smile. Okay. 6 months pass, and the next time Shouta sees the kid on the roof, he's in a middle school uniform and leg braces. The uniform is singed and torn in spots, and when he lands on the roof, Izuku doesn't turn. Hey. No response. Shouta gets closer and calls again, and the head of green curls whips around, fear crossing his face before he sees that it's just the hero. A hand reaches up and fiddles with something in his ear, and then Izuku is grinning widely at him. Hello, Eraserhead-san! Kid, you can just call me Eraser. It's less of a mouthful. Shouta once again sits next to Izuku, and that's when he sees the hearing aid that is snugly fit in the boy's ear. Okay, Eraser. I learned something new the last time we talked. Izuku gestures to his legs. Anything below 10 isn't a guarantee. What do you mean by that? Nothing. Izuku swings his legs and glares at the braces on them. I'm in middle school now, and I went partway deaf over the summer break and got these stupid leg things because of an accident. Sounds eventful. It was, but Natsuo took me and Amiko to the beach, and we had ice cream instead of going to the group. He's almost done with high school. Isn't that crazy? I wish I was that lucky. Izuku looks at Shouta and smiles sadly. I don't think I'm going to make it that long, though. You're a strong kid. I'm sure you will. I can't even tell my bullies to stop, though. Izuku covers his face with his hands, and a flush spreads up the back of his neck. I'm just a Deku and can't even do one thing they want me to do right. Shouta mentally panics and holds out a hand. Izuku seems not to notice, so he wraps his arm around the kid's bony shoulders and draws him into a halfway hug. Hey, none of that. You're not a Deku. He places a hand on top of the curls and runs it through, Izuku shivering and leaning into Shota's hug as he cries. Izuku, you're so much better than them, and they don't know what they're missing, okay? Shouta pulls away enough so that the boy can look up at him, green eyes still watering. Really? Yeah. Shouta hugs him again, and after pulling away, Izuku wipes out his face with the already ruined sleeve of his uniform. I didn't tell you my family name when we met. Izuku sniffs and blinks. It's Midoriya. Please don't look me up. I want to stay friends. Shouta agrees reluctantly. A part of him is concerned for Izuku, mostly because it's odd to keep seeing the boy up on this roof at increasingly later times, and it's odd that he doesn't talk about much when they meet up. See you again soon. A month later, Izuku is back. Shouta is there, first this time. It was a gut feeling, and sure enough, about 10 minutes after he's arrived, Izuku is opening the door that leads to the roof. Bunches of red flowers crush in his grip. He storms past Shouta and throws them off the roof before huffing and sitting next to the hero and immediately breaking down into sobs. Shouta just holds him in a hug, while the kid cries enough to refill the ocean, tears soaking into the shoulder of his shirt. When the sobs calm, Izuku is breathing a little better. Emiko died yesterday. She wasn't strong enough, and then Izuku's breathing hitched. Izuku's breathing hitches before he's powering through. They put spider lilies and carved names on my desk and said that I should have done it too. Shouta holds onto Izuku a little tighter after that. I'm so sorry for your loss. I know you two were very close. Yeah, Natsuo called me after it happened and told me I couldn't check the news because they were being mean to her because she couldn't control her sickness. It's dumb. I want her back. She was nice to me and came over when mom didn't. I don't think it's dumb that you want your friend back. Shouta carefully says, it's a natural part of grieving. She didn't deserve it. Izuku's angry again, and his leg kicks out. Brace still struck against his pant leg. None of us do. Natsuo's lucky. He gets to be homeschooled. And maybe Emi-chan would have lived longer if she stayed away from the bullies. Shouta isn't quite sure how to respond to that, so he lets Izuku rant for as long as he needs, which ends up being nearly 30 minutes of mumbling, half yelling, and more tears. When he's finally done, Izuku turns off his hearing aids and switches to sign. Sorry about that. Shouta shrugs and signs back it's okay. And Izuku's eyes widen gleefully at the realization that the hero can understand him. Is it true that the loud hero is deaf? Shouta laughs at the sign name that Izuku has assigned Mike. It's almost the exact same one that he and his husband use for him. Yeah, he almost deafened me a few times too. Izuku beams at that. He signs a few other things, mostly a thank you and an ask if Mike will sign something for him if they ever met, and then the boy is leaving again. Shouta waits on the roof until he sees the kid exit the bottom of the building and turn down the street. Smart kid. If he's only been hard of hearing since the summer, learning JSL took time. But Shouta could guess that Izuku hadn't had that kind of time on his side. Hell, one of his friends died because of their shared sickness. There is no telling if Izuku was next on the list. Maybe it was time to do some digging. Shouta runs into Izuku outside of the roof for once, and it's in the worst place possible. Mostly because he's breaking out of the hospital as Izuku and an older teen with white hair are walking up to the doors. Both of them emerged in a heavy sign debate. Eraser-san? Shit. Shouta stops walking and turns slowly to see that Izuku and the teen he's with have both stopped and they're staring at him with concern, which makes sense. He's covered in bandages and trying to sneak out of the hospital. Izuku, who's this with you? Oh, this is Natsuo. Izuku gestures vaguely, and Natsuo waves. The teen looked considerably healthier than the boy, and both of them are wearing matching red shoes that Shota recognizes as the ones that Izuku always has on. All in all, while Izuku looks like the poster boy for an autoimmune disease, Natsuo looks like an older sibling escorting his brother for a checkup. Something isn't lining up with it, and Shota needs to know what. Nice to meet you, sir. Izuku told me a lot. Natsuo says calmly, and his eyes flicker to Izuku protectively as he judges Shota. Likewise. Great! Now that the intros are done, Eraser, you should really be getting back to your room. Izuku claps and points a finger at Shota. You probably are breaking protocol. Shota is, but the kid doesn't need to be right. I'm fine. You're covered in gauze. Izuku shoots back, and Shota relents, hobbling over and ruffling the kid's hair as he lets them take him back inside. Why are you here today? Group, Izuku says as he waves at the front desk and leads them all to the elevators. It's the floor above the Hero Ward, so we'll drop you off and go on our merry way. Natsuo nods at Shota's questioning glance. They ride up the elevator in silence, and once the doors open, Izuku ushers Shota out and points sternly down the hall. Bye, Eraser. Go get some rest. The last thing he sees of the pair before the door shuts is Izuku reaching out to punch the teen, while Natsuo is mid-laugh. Shota figures it out by accident, what Izuku has. He and Hisashi are in the mall, checking out dress shoes since there's a fancy hero's dinner, and his husband begged him to come as a +1 when he sees the red shoes on the shelf. Izuku wears those. Hisashi's head whips to follow Shota's line of sight, and his eyes widen when he spots them. He does. Are you sure? Yeah, why? Oh god! Everything you've told me makes so much more sense, Sho. Hisashi is sniffing now, and he looks on the edge of tears as he sits on the ground, an increasingly concerned Shota following him down. What's wrong? Those shoes are made by a company that specializes in mutation quirks. They're the only people who also make shoes for the quirkless. It's like a calling card among them, since it's the only shoe they can buy without getting expensive customs. Hisashi explains, and everything clicks into place. The bright red seems a bit cruel. Shota decides after he peeled his husband off the ground and purchased a stupid pair of dress shoes. If it's a calling card from one quirkless person to another, then it's also a beacon for bullies to come at them without abandon. Izuku's deafness and leg brace start to make a bit more sense now. Why he's more beat up than Natsuo, who was homeschooled. God, what kind of parents lets their kid get subjected to that kind of torture day in and out? Shota can't stop thinking about it. Even as he gets home, he gets ready for a quick night patrol and goes out. Izuku's out again, and one of his braces is off, with him fumbling with a screwdriver and a tiny flashlight in his mouth to chase off the dark as he tinkers with the brace. Shota lands and walks to sit next to him, the kid nodding in acknowledgement before going back to his work. There's a clicking noise, and Izuku snorts in frustration, dropping the screwdriver. Want me to hold the flashlight? Shota asks. Izuku hands him the damn flashlight, and then continues to work in silence for about a half hour more. The brace slowly getting tightened in certain places, loosened in others. When Izuku finally deems it worthy and slips it back on, his shoes following, Shota asks, What accident did this? Jumped off a roof. Turns out 5 stories is enough to cripple ya, but not enough to finish the job. Izuku starts to tie his shoe. Kachan had just deafened me, and I didn't see any point of being a burden on society anymore. Shota chokes. Izuku. Eraser, it's fine. I haven't tried since. But I did the research. Next time I have to go above 10 floors. Shouta wraps his capture weapon around Izuku's middle and pulls him close. Kid, are you safe at home? Izuku's mouth snaps shut and he shrugs. She leaves me money for food and pays for the doctor appointments. Nope. Nope. Shouta can't stand for this. Izuku is a goddamn ray of sunshine to have around, and if this kid doesn't have a mother to go back to, he's seriously considering a convoluted kidnapping ploy to take him home to his cats and husband, who will absolutely shower this child with all the affection in the world. It's fine. I'm used to it. Like how you're used to people for treating you like a sickness just because your genes came out a bit to the left? Shouta asks. Yeah. Well, sickness or no sickness, you're still the kindest person I've met, Izuku, and you don't deserve how people treat you. Shouta unravels his scarf from Izuku, but keeps him in a hug. And for what it's worth, from a pro hero to you, I don't think that your corklessness is a sickness. Izuku hums. How'd you figure it out? Shoes. Ah, they always give us away. Izuku says. Shouta nods in agreement. You'll let me know if you feel bad, okay? I like having you as a conversational partner. Shouta pats the top of Izuku's head, which coaxes a laugh out from the kid. Sure, whatever. Good. Now, it's late. Can I escort you home? Sure. It's summer again, and Shouta can see that Izuku is already waiting for him on their roof. He's in casual clothes, and Natsuo is next to him, so when Shouta laughs, the white-haired teen is the first to notice and wave. Hello, sir! Natsuo? Shouta says, evenly as he sits on Izuku's free side. The boy pulls out a sandwich out of his bag and passes it to him before he's pulling out more and spreading them on the rooftop, adding in a small pre-packaged cake. It's our birthday! Izuku says as he pulls out another cake. Well, not really. Mine's in 2 weeks, but no one's gonna remember since it's technically Natsuo's, and I wanted to have a celebration before he moves to college. Squirt, you know I'll only be 2 hours away. Natsuo teases as he rubs Izuku's head, the younger hissing at him. And you have your own personal hero too. Shouta just hums in agreement as he takes a bite of his sandwich. It's very good, considering a middle schooler made it. How old will you be, Izuku? Natsuo nudged Izuku in the side, who sighed and just rolled his eyes at the other. Shouta was finding this very amusing. It was a pity Izuku hasn't brought the other by before. 14! Huzzah! Izuku pumps a fist in the air and takes a bite of his own sandwich. Can't believe I only have to deal with one last year of Aldera Middle. You know where you want to go to school? Shouta asked. I wanted to go to UA when I was younger. Be a hero. Izuku took another bite of his sandwich and shook his head. Fucked up my legs and ears, so that's not really an option anymore. You could always do your creepy stuff. Natsuo teased. It's really good. You'd probably get in. It's not creepy, Nat-chan. Izuku slapped the sandwich out of the teen's hand. You just can't handle my hero analysis like everyone else. Hawk said they were really cool when he accidentally stole one of my notebooks. Shouta blinked. You know Hawks. He likes saving kids from bullies. It was really nice of him. Izuku waves a hand at him. It's nothing. Izuku knowing the number 3 hero, saying it was nothing. Shouta held back a sigh and let Izuku continue explaining his hero analysis as they had their picnic on the roof. Eventually, though, Izuku had to leave, and it was just Shouta and Natsuo there on the roof. Eraserhead? Yes. Izuku and I aren't related, but I see him as much as a brother as I do my own siblings. The teen seemed to choke up, pausing a moment to get his bearings. We already lost Emiko. You know, his quirk lists are starting to become few and far between, and I don't know what I'd do if I lost another brother. Shouta places a hand on the teen's shoulder. I'll protect him. Eraserhead, even if it's from himself. I don't know what Izuku's gone through. Even Emi-chan wasn't treated as horribly as he has been. I've been lucky to be homeschooled, and now the college in Tokyo that I'm going to has a great no discrimination policy. But he's just a kid, and he's tried to kill himself before. Natsuo finally started to cry, but unlike Izuku, his tears were silent. I don't want to lose him. Not like Toya or Emiko. You won't. Shouta finds Izuku on a building that's 15 stories high 3 months after Natsuo has gone to college. His capture weapon barely saves the teen, and if he had been even 10 seconds later, it would have been too late. Shouta ends up taking a barely conscious Izuku home. Once the teen has admitted that his mom stopped showing up at home nearly a month earlier, saying that he was too expensive and that it wasn't worth to keep paying for new hearing aids every time someone at school broke them. Apparently, he'd been virtually deaf for 2 weeks by the time that Shouta found him. Natsuo arrives on his doorstep exactly 2.5 hours after Shouta contacts him, worry written all over his features, as the pro hero lets him in, introduces Mike, and then leads him to Izuku's room. We're getting replacement hearing aids tomorrow, as well as talking to a detective for child neglect. Shouta says softly as he opens the door for the other. I'm sorry. You did nothing wrong. Natsuo slipped inside and closed the door. When Shouta and Sasashi peek into the room a few hours later, Izuku is bundled up in Natsuo's arms, in a pose that vaguely reminds Shouta of back when he was a kid, when the nightmares would come and his sister would chase them away. They were both sound asleep, and so they leave the two brothers like that and head to their own room. Izuku is a bit better in the morning. He still jumps when he's approached from behind, and the tension in his shoulders doesn't leave until there's a new pair of hearing aids secure and turned on. Even then, he kept a bit of a distance, uncharacteristically quiet, until the detective told him that he'd be safe. Shouta pulls Izuku out of Aldera Middle the second he has guardianship. The teen ends up thriving in a faster paced online class, and by the time Yue's entrance exam is rolling around, he's more prepared than any of the other students attempting the written exam. He also catches the attention of Nezu with his support course submissions, which is his most recent analysis book, the one that Hisashi purchased to replace what an old bully of Izuku's had destroyed. Shouta honestly is nervous for the team-up of the principal and his kid. Oh, and another thing that Inko missed in her neglect. Izuku needed glasses for his nearsightedness. Hey, Eri! Oh! Hi, Shoto. Your brother told me about you. Anyway, Eraser Dad, Papa Mike wanted to know if Joe could come over for dinner this afternoon. Izuku pushes his glasses up his nose as Shoto holds back a sigh. Izuku, it's Aizawa during school hours. The bell rang 7 minutes ago. How was I supposed to know you were talking to Shoto? Said teen is standing there awkwardly, staring at the two of them as they talk, undoubtedly surprised that Izuku is so casually using his given name. Hours around both of his older brothers will do that to a kid. Fair enough. Yes, Emi can come to dinner. Aren't you bringing your boyfriend home soon anyway? Nato says that there's no way he's facing your wrath until at least third year. You terrified him at the training camp. Izuku shrugs and turns, opening the door back up. He pauses, and Shouta can feel the indecision that his son has from across the room. Izuku squares his shoulders and then turns back around, bowing at Todoroki. Thank you for sharing your brother, and also for kicking Bakugo's ass at the sports festival. Then, he's running out as quickly as his braces let him. Shouta hears Izuku trip in the hall as one locks up. He should probably tell Izuku that letting Hatsume mess with them is a horrible idea. But the other part finds the fail slightly amusing, considering that several amounts of Japanese, French, and English expletives that come flying out as Izuku hits the ground. Todoroki looks at the door with mild concern. It is he crazy? Shouta smirks. Sure. Todoroki pales at that. Shouta lets the silence sit for a bit longer before he's shaking his head. Izuku is eccentric, and he's also the reason why your class is doing so well. His quirk analysis is amazing for someone his age. Additionally, he managed to be one of the most positive people, despite what has happened to him. You should try to make friends with him sometime. I think he'd like to collect a third Todoroki. He's rather fond of your family. Izuku coming home with Dabi, who was apparently the long-dead Todoroki, definitely had been the second biggest surprise of the year, considering the first was that he had brought Shigaraki home and forced him to become friends. If he hadn't been quirkless, Shouta would have registered Izuku's quirk to be an ability to erase the worst traits in people. Now both of those villains were in reformation programs, and the League was barely a threat. Todoroki nodded. I'd be honored. You know what? Why the hell not? It's the 2-year anniversary of you saving me. That it is. Anything you want to do today? Can we have a picnic on the roof? I promise to keep away from the edge. Dr. Katsuki says that I've been doing really great in therapy. Sure. Can Nato come? Sure. Thanks, Dad. Sure thing, Izuku. Alright, my stars, that is the end of that fic. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know I can say that I have enjoyed it. I would really love to hear your opinions, so you can pop them down in the comments below. But I really like this fic. The like all of the little details about Izuku, they're really great, and I love the bonding between Izuku and Aizawa. And I also love how Natsuo is portrayed quirkless. I really like the headcanon of that in most fics that I read that have Natsuo in it. It really brings out like more like personality and character sometimes. So I really like to see that whenever Natsuo is in a fic. And I really like how in this fic there's like this support group that helps out the quirkless people. So I'm really like glad there's like something there that mentions some kind of support system for the quirkless. Even though it doesn't seem to be doing much, it's still some kind of group where the quirkless can meet others. But anyways, my stars, that's the end of this video. I really hope to see you in the next one. If you guys have any recommendations for fics you want me to read, you can put them down in the comments below. I always love to see what you guys have to say. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye, my stars.